if you're looking at all these games that come out these days, they can be so complex that they don't get mainstream. They are not easy to pick up for anybody within the household, right? So
Yeah.
I think that Catan, why it was so good, it was easy enough that everybody could play. To be honest, it's 30 years old, right? So 30 years old. It's 1995 when it came out in Germany. Game for 30 years old, and just everybody can put it on the table. It's easy to understand. Everybody can play it. And with all due respect, a lot of board games these days just don't have that right away. We played chess. What we're talking about just Robin Hood a little bit earlier. Even that is not for everybody right
No,
away.
definitely.
It's already another level of playing, another level of thinking. That is not for just going in and playing with the family easily, right? Those are games that require a different kind of level of thinking, which a lot of people just don't want. It's not that they cannot do that, but it's just you want to put something easy on the table and get it.
Welcome by Pixel Meeple podcast, 5th episode. We're gonna talk about games that we deem a classic, special, or iconic. Video games, board games, card games. What makes that game special? That's what we are gonna share among the game memories that we are gonna bring to the table. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you.
And Robin, I'm gonna tell you already, this is gonna be a super exciting episode because I have some games in store that I have been longing to share on this podcast. I actually hope that we have crossovers because otherwise this podcast is not gonna be in the 1 hour duration.
To be honest, I would be surprised if we have crossovers, but you got my hopes up now. So
Okay.
interested what you're gonna bring. So I will let you go first. Then I'm excited. So you put the level up, so you don't disappoint me now.
Yeah. But before we're gonna start, I have to share that I made some progress in Zelda Breath of the Wild. So I did a couple of those shrines and got some extra hearts and some energy. It's interesting. It's becoming more and more, how can I say it? Because it's so open, it's quite sort of difficult to figure out where to go next. Although the game gives you nudges where to go, but yeah, you still want to figure out yourself. So I sometimes have it with open games in general, open world, and Zelda is at this stage at the moment. But I'm really having fun.
The game is quite open. It doesn't really tell you where to go. It gives you options.
Yeah.
It does guide you a little bit first to the water shrine. If you want my tip as well, go for energy, not for hearts. Energy is your lifesaver, especially if you want to go through the game a little bit easier. Hearts will come later anyway. So energy is the way to go from the start. Just make sure you're max energy, and that makes the game a hell of a lot easier.
Okay, well, that's a good tip because.
And go for shrines and go hunt for shrines. So you don't have to do the main story. There's a lot of side quests everywhere as well. So I would, just enjoy it. Right? It is a big world. It's fun. The overall story arc is fun. If you get these little tidbits as well, you can get a lot out of it. Or if you want to just go straight for a story as well.
Man, you can put a lot of hours in that game. Many hours. You can totally get lost.
You know how many hours I probably spend in that. So
yeah, that was my realization as well. Like, okay, he has done both Zelda Tears Zelda Breath of the Wild as well as Tears of the Kingdom, and he has done it on 100% completion level. I was like, okay.
Just for the audience. So I got all the cork seeds, everything you need to get. The thing is that bit fun tidbit with that is that I got Breath of the Wild quite late. So when I finished Breath of the Wild, I jumped Tears of the Kingdom. Basically came out a month later.
Yeah.
But I just finished the grind with all the cork seeds, and then I had to do it again. So I wasn't looking forward to that one.
But you did it for the second one as well, right?
Yeah. And the second one actually has more. So the second one has 1,000 cork seeds, and I think that Breath of the Wild is 800-ish. I'm not 100% sure anymore. But I also did all the shrines for both games. I did the map completion because the game says 100% complete, but that's actually the map only. So I got the map 100% complete as well. Basically, you went everywhere. I think searching that is hell when you're
Mate,
99% and you need to find just one thing. But I did it. I went through it all. Basically that took me, I
respect.
think, 12 hours to get the last 1%. But
Yeah,
yeah, the thing is that I'm a bit of a completionist. No, I'm just a completionist in most of my games. I platinum most of my games.
except one.
Which one? The Old Republic? Yeah, but there wasn't no platina in there. There's no trophies in there. So yeah, that was
Okay.
before before we went for trophies. So.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
But fair shot. But I almost complete almost all my games.
And I think the other thing that I wanted to bring to the table is last time on the podcast, we talked, or at least I brought it up, that I was looking forward to a Jest of Robin Hood,
We
and
played.
I was making fun that I would probably buy it before I'm gonna digitally try it. And
You
that's what
did.
I did. I watched some YouTube videos and I was like, okay, this is, this is my game. This is my jam. I will just buy it and we'll see whatever happens next. And we played it the first time, right?
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. I actually love that game. It goes after my namesake as well. So yeah, that's one of the plus. And I was playing Robin Hood, but I really liked the interaction where you constantly react on each other based on your moves. And while it's straight open, it's like you still do things which basically annoy or crash the whole plan of the other player, which is fine. I
Which
do
you did quite often.
I try to. But sometimes you just don't do it. You do it because without noticing. But especially one of the main things just of Robin Hood is like how you take those turns and how you really need to think about how you take your turn. Are you going to take just a single turn, or are you going to do an event, or do you do the deeds and events? Where the last one is the best, but it also makes you next turn in another turn order, which might be not beneficial for what you want to do. So that really makes you got a lot of choices, and
Yeah, and
especially
giving someone else first turn order is a huge factor in this game because he can take the event and, well, basically destroy your whole plan because you need to start planning ahead. You need to think about a couple of turns ahead. Yeah, I really enjoyed this game, and strategic. It's completely asymmetric. You play a completely different game, and it's so tight because you just have that that bar on the left side just as an order, and it just
especially when you're in the first turn and already have 4 points, and you're like, shit, have I lost already? You almost did.
I almost did. Yeah.
So yeah, I think to be honest, my heart goes out for these kind of games because I think how long because the first time I think that we played it an hour and a half, but if you really know this, you can play it within an hour. It's really cutthroat. It's really on the edge, right? It's really going back and forth. So yeah, I really love these games because they're quick, they're fun, but they also really make you think, right? Really
Mm.
strategically, which just it ticked all the boxes for me. I also love the Robin Hood era and stuff like that. So and that is also an extra tick in the box. But these kind of games that don't really take too long, you can take out, you have a lot of fun, and you can put it back in. Really have me going because otherwise you need to spend a lot of time, which I also don't mind if you have longer time, but you have to plan that more. And if you're just gonna grab it out and put it on the table, and it was really fun. I think really enjoyed it, and the fact that I won really, yeah, I don't mind.
It's not a tick in the box. Cool. We're gonna move into our segment classics. We're gonna talk about oldies like ourselves, games from the 80s, 90s, and the zeros. We're gonna dust them off, bring in some nostalgia, and talk about why it made so special. And of course, game memories that we have about those games, and we're gonna bring them along. So, the theme for this podcast episode from my games is strategy games.
We might have a crossover then, so we might have. I put a strategy game in there as well. So okay, but
So,
I'm excited. Just let it rip.
yes. So the first one is published in 1996. It's Red Alert. It's the iteration after Command and Conquer. I think I can tell a lot about Command and Conquer, but this was my first RTS on the PC and also the very first serious PC game that I ever played. I mean, such a cool game. It was released by Westwood Studios, brings on some alternative history between the Allies and the Soviets. So they go back to history and kill off a certain German guy to change the course of events in World War II. Well, what happens is that Stalin grabs power, and either you play the Allies in the single player campaign or the Soviets, and you're trying to control Europe. And it was a massive hit when it was released and was very much praised for its tight gameplay, its multiplayer as well, its soundtrack, and especially Hell March, and classic 90s RTS, if I were to say it. Couple of things that stand out for me, at least, is yeah, it was the base building. I think that's what we introduced in Command and Conquer as well. But they added quite a number of units along with it, um, and the mod and the you can play multiplayer together with your friends. The campaign with the cutscenes in between, with you sitting across Stalin, at least the actor. I thought back then that we looked like Stalin. It was almost like a resemblance if you look at the pictures as well. Um, but it was so cool. It was so cool. And it was difficult as well, especially later on in the game itself. And I still remember having those maps where you have Tanya as a single unit and perhaps a few units along with it. That was it. You have a mission where you have to go from one place to another in a compound, and you have to do certain objectives like blow up the whole base. It was extremely difficult. It was not the best missions, to be honest, but it added a diversity in the mixture of the campaign itself.
Well, I actually did, but I really hated those missions because
Yeah, and what I realized is that it had both air units, land units like tanks, dogs, but also sea units like transport submarines and the cruiser, which was really annoying because they could fire, let's say, and bombard your whole base from almost
those
across the whole
cruisers were
map.
just not nice. Like, and you basically break the whole enemy
Yeah,
base.
you break the game, but almost. But yeah, I don't know. It was just a very, very good iteration on already a very good game. So this is gold for me.
It is an overall fun game. So, and I think that like 2 years ago we had the remastered version. So I basically played them also everything again, all the missions, and it just brings me back. I played that. What I always did was a little bit of with my dad. So my dad was playing in the evening, and I was playing when I came at home. So he was at a level, and then I beat him at a level, and then the next evening he was two levels ahead, so I had to beat him. So it was a little bit of a competition on trying
Oh,
to
nice,
get
nice.
ahead of each other.
Who won?
But he always had more time. So when he was playing till 12 and I had to go to bed early, that was just it wasn't even fair remotely. But yeah, I love that game. I really love what they did with the game, and it just brings a lot of memories. One of the things what I really like to do as well is that the Command and Conquer didn't really have that in the beginning, or not as such as Red Alert. And I was actually map building, so
Oh, yeah.
building your own map, and I built a lot of different maps. Back then, after going to Red Alert 2, internet was a little bit more easier, and it was getting easier. More people had it, so you could actually LAN with people. That was also really for a lot of people that are trying to play strategy games against each other. So
Yeah, it was basically the main reason why we wanted to have uh, a network in our home so I can play together with my brother on different PCs. I mean, there were other games, of course, that you could play multiplayer as well, but this was just pure gold. I do have to say that there were a couple of expansions that added more units to it. The balance was off. A couple of units were too strong. I didn't really like that. And if you look at the iterations that came afterwards, Red Alert 2 and Red Alert 3 as well, the cutscenes that were quite famous of Red Alert 1, they made it a little bit more gimmicky and more comic. And I didn't really appreciate what the route that they have chosen, so to say. I think it's really appreciated by a lot of fans. But for me, the original was just like an alternative take on, you know?
I think similar. I think that a lot of people really loved Red Alert 2 and stuff like that. I just also didn't really like the direction. So that's why I'm a fan of Command and Conquer Generals as well, one of my all-time favorite strategy games, because they brought it back to a bit more serious and to in that sense, right? I love that. Okay, question towards you. I've got three games for you. Strategy, racing, or a board game. Which one do you want to start with?
Yeah, start off with racing. We haven't talked about racing
I
enough.
never talked about racing. So this one I never owned myself, but I think that everybody says this is one of the best racing games there is. You have any ideas? It's an old one. It's an oldie.
The best racing game there is ever. No, because
Just
it
guess
really
one.
depends on who you might ask, to be honest, because there are a lot of people that are really passionate about Need for Speed. I don't know.
Just do a guess.
For me, it was Test Drive, but
It's Gran Turismo.
gra- uh,
And Gran Turismo, if you played it, and it came out for the PlayStation 1997 in Japan and 98 in North America. What I really love with that, especially when I played it on the couch with my brother-in-law because he had it, is that you first had to get your driver license to drive certain
mm,
cars, and you had to really get up the winning races and getting up there and basically have a little bit of a career path and not having the fastest cars right away. And actually, it was quite difficult as well to race and win and then getting up those and getting better licenses so you could buy better cars and you can. So it was just a gift that keeps on giving. He also you had like 140 licensed cars as well. So there was also really backing from car manufacturers who are getting their car in the game. And I think that it has a lot of depth. There's a lot of they put a lot of stuff in that game, and it just for anybody that loves racing, loves cars in general. I think back then Gran Turismo was just top of the bill for most people. It just had everything, right? It had a lot in that game for, and it was back there. If you go for PlayStation and how much content was in that game, that was actually ridiculous. So they really did a good job. I loved the driving, I loved the racing. I played it silly. I always went to my brother-in-law and tried to playing it as much as possible. These days, I think that yeah, you have the Forzas and other type of games that took a little bit over from Gran Turismo. I'm not sure when the last Gran Turismo came. But I think there was one a few years ago. I'm not 100%
mm,
sure anymore.
could be.
Don't follow racing games too much at but back then, yeah, it was really a good game. It was also one of the best selling PlayStation games starting this franchise. So it
I
is
I think it's
really
what
good.
was one of the key unique selling points for PlayStation. I mean, Gran Turismo.
100%, yeah.
Yeah,
And it did it all. The racing was good. It was like actually getting these cars and driving them. And I think that back then you already said it. Need for Speed was one of the ones that was off it, but that was a little bit more
yeah,
unrealistic, right? So a bit
yeah. It's
and
more arcade.
so more arcadey. And I don't want to just say that Need for Speed is really arcadey, but compared to the hyper realistic what Gran Turismo was going for, there was a really big gap in that sense. So yeah, so I really love that game, and yeah, and when looking back in those times, it's like, geez, that was almost 30 years ago when it came out.
Yeah, and I think it was the. It was not the first racing game, of course, but it was the first racing game that took it to the masses because you had racing simulation in different formats. But this was just right in the middle. It was between sort of like arcade. I will just have fun. I will step in a car and I can do whatever. And this was just like, okay, this I need to be careful now. I need to really master my controls and really master what I'm doing. And it starts off indeed with your license.
Yeah, and I think that as well, doing something that trying to do something that realistic can backfire so quickly, right? So
Definitely.
and but they nailed it. So Gran Turismo really nailed it. It was a really good game. I think that there was also a PlayStation version that actually came with the games. Actually, for me, yeah, as racing games, and if you're looking at classics, then Gran Turismo needs to be in that list.
Nice. Didn't think you would bring this one to the table. It's an extremely good game.
I try to throw you off sometimes. So I don't want to be like, oh, all the strategy games. Like, let's put StarCraft in there. You're probably gonna get that.
But sometimes you have to go just for the obvious, because
Yeah, but the thing
of the
is that
good
what
games.
this podcast also does for me, I have to go trip by memory lane because I've played a lot of games over the years, and it's easy. And I think that everybody, and also the viewers or the listeners in this case, depending on what platform, is it's so easy to forget certain games that you play.
Definitely.
So and you're like, oh, I played that, and it's so much fun when you actually start playing them again, or are you thinking about them? Or so. It's like there is a door and you're open, like you forgot there, and your brain you just open it up,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Poof.
and you're back, and you're like, okay, fine, let's go.
You're that young kid again. So bringing to my second game, launched in 2003, also a C&C game, Generals.
Already said it. Nice.
Yeah, man. This iteration is just the best Command and Conquer of the whole franchise. I mean, it introduces a third faction to the list. So we had two with Red Alert and also with Command and Conquer. So either the Nod or the GDI or the Soviets and the USA. They brought back USA. China this time is a very military faction, and yeah, more like an insurgent faction that came along with it, which I very much liked, was the GLA, Global
Liberation Army.
Liberation something
Army.
Army. Thank you. It was actually the first RTS game that I played on a serious level, on, let's say, multiplayer online. I was always a bit of afraid to match myself with other players online to see if I was able to beat them, because this game introduced me to it. And of course you fail a lot of times, but you have fun along the way. Let me talk about it a little bit more. Because you have those three factions, they play also quite different. So the USA brought in some more, let's say, Air Force, a more defensive style of play. They had very annoying Humvees that they can bring in along some units and stalk you, harass you, and then go back to their base and turtle again.
Humvees, 4 rocket launchers. There you go. Or 5 rocket launcher people
Yeah.
are in, and then just run around and just basically killing everything.
Because normally with Red Alert and the Command and Conquer, you had your resources at your own base, which you had to gather. It would be ore or something else, crystals. Now they wanted to push you to move into the direction of the map. So you have oil derricks, and you had also ways to generate your own passive income at a later moment in the game itself. I think China did it with hackers, funnily enough. GLA did it with black market, and the USA did it supply drops. That's it. And there was a lot of different types of strategies. There was quite a big meta to the game as well, where you had different play styles, different initiatives that I wouldn't say that it would take the level of StarCraft, but well, it was fun enough to keep on playing it again and again and again. The GLA, because it was more of like an insurgent factory, they could lift off of the stuff that they destroyed. So they put the stuff that they would demolish of other things and put them on their own vehicles, so they could upgrade. And what they could also do is build tunnels and then all of a sudden jump into someone else's base or something like that. So you could destroy those USA turtles.
First had to do that.
And then you had China, which had just extreme. If you know Red Alert, you had the Soviet tanks. They just thought, okay, how can we lift it up and boost it up to another level?
Yeah, China was my favorite faction. It was easy one to rush. I think that you said StarCraft as well. I think that StarCraft there, especially in the multiplayer 1 by 1, is a far better and balanced game in that sense. I did play a lot of Clan Wars as well, especially with China, where you see that USA and China and GLA. I think that most people were just USA or China that was really winning the games overall, but there were also some really good GLA players. Whereas China wins out with the Gatling gun and just go around and trying to kill everything as easy as possible, where you have the Humphrey rocket spam trying to harass you with the other side. So yeah, there was multiple things that you had to deal with. But yeah, this awesome. But my question would say, you say generals, but which one is better, generals or Zero Hour, the expansion?
I think from a fun perspective, I would say 0 hour because they everything that was already crazy, they notched it up to another level. You had a nuclear general, everything that your tanks and all your things that you were bombarding, everything was nuclear. The other one was toxic general and a air force general and super weapon general. So they just took one piece of the faction.
Put the dial to 100.
Yeah, exactly. And that also from a multiplayer perspective was just crazy unbalanced. If
It,
someone
it
were to,
made it made it fun though.
it was extremely fun, except for one faction. If that one faction was in the, and I think it was the super weapon general, you were seeing people dismissing the lobby. They say, "Okay, guy, go have fun on your own."
But the thing is, it does take the super weapon general quite a time to ramp up.
Yeah,
So if
it
they
is
don't get
true.
the ramp up time, they basically are screwed.
Yeah, but if you have a team versus team match, you could just,
Yeah.
throw all your defenses and wait until that super weapon in general is fully ramped up, and then
Yeah, I played that game still. So C&C Generals was one of the first games I played a lot online because the internet again was evolving. I met a few people, and I actually till this day I still talk to one of them. And we also did Twilight Flame 4 before, and those matches could take 2-3 hours easily. So yeah, I did that loads. I think that a few hundred hours in that game easy, 100%.
what was your second one?
Choose strategy or board game.
We're on the subject of strategy, so bring it on.
So, talking about real time strategy, you also have turn based
Yep,
strategy. And I always love that because for me, it's some like chess. So, which game do you think?
turn-based strategy, like an
Classic.
classic.
100% you played it.
Wow, my memory is just
I can see your eyes, you're
I
blanking. So,
yeah, I'm
Civilization
blank.
2.
Yeah,
So,
I should. Yeah, that's the one that I should have known.
yeah, Civilization 2. I think that for a lot of people, this is one of the greatest games ever made,
Yeah,
especially if you're looking at the turn based genre. And Civilization is still going strong. This year, we had, I think it's 7, which had a little bit of mixed reviews because they tried something new and then people don't like it.
yeah.
Yeah, Civilization 2. Building up from basically the Stone Age to wherever you get towards military strength and building up your, making your cities, doing science, having a religion, and trying to build up your turn by turn, building up your basically your empire, and yeah, just trying to get farther in ahead to the game, and which sometimes was quite funny, especially if you play AI when you roll in with your tanks and they just come and the cavemen come out. It's just
That's what I
it's
always like with it. I think it's with Age of Empires as well. Like, you progress so fast and you see the other ones and you're like, okay.
yeah, but this game does. The thing is that in a lot of more real time, you're behind upgrades,
Yeah.
but here you can actually be in age.
Yeah.
There is an age or maybe 2 ages depending on how good you play against the others, which is just ridiculous. It's like, okay, I've got fighter jets and you're just coming with these paper planes. What are you trying to do here? It's just
Yeah. It's funny.
and you basically demolish everything.
Isn't
So
that cute?
isn't that cute? But it's wrong. Yeah, and it's really fun to play. I didn't play the last one. I played the one before that, and I played it a bunch. I loved the style of play. Civilization, I think it was 6. It was just really good. Has the same feel. Goes through the game really, building your little empire, trying to build out, trying to get these wonders up as well. And it's there is so much fun in this game. The thing is that you lose time, which is so easy to do when we lost 4 hours because you were just trying to click constantly. So yeah, it's fun.
You
It
know
has
what the fun
everything.
thing is that my brother really, really loved all the Civ games. And for me, I played it I played it as well, and quite a number of time, and also multiplayer quite often. But if I had to choose, if we were to pick one game or so, if we were to play multiplayer, 9 out of 10, it wasn't those games. It was more like if we wanted to have a laid back, relaxed strategy game that you spend hours on it, then we probably would have picked, or I would have picked Total War, for example, or
And that's to do with the turn-based style, right? If you
yeah.
because you have to wait on the other one, so that there's also basically
But it's
time between.
fun because at least how I think about it, because I want to have a more fast paced digital experience, but I play a
Mhm.
lot of board games which are a lot more slower paced.
Which are really turn-based as
Yeah,
well.
so I don't
So
know.
uh, I think it's just the media and how you absorb it.
Yeah.
That may be it. But I think that Civilization, especially for that game, it was a game before its time already because there was so much in there. And
Mm,
same goes with Gran Turismo. Maybe that's a little bit my team as well. There is so much in there. Such a complete game. Which, if you go back, it was 1996, right? Games were just coming out, and they already produced something like that. I think that was just mind blowing how they did that, and they put so many in the game, trying to progress through these ages,
yeah.
and then also putting a little bit of battle in there, trying to conquer. Yeah, it was just awesome how they did that.
I think, I mean, Sid Meier is one of the granddaddies for a lot of strategy games. I think the digital ones, but also, I mean, it started off as a board game. So also board games, I think, got inspiration out of it. I mean, if you look at Through the Ages, it's also a board game implementation. Wow. It's just, a different implementation, different take on the same concept.
Yeah, but I think that a lot of these games were founding fathers of a lot of other strategy games or turn-based strategy
Yeah.
games because, to be honest, they delivered so well. And a lot of other games you can see hints of it also just influenced by these kind of games, right? And nobody can. I think in the gaming industry, if people say that Civilization sucks, that I just don't believe them right off the bat, right? They're just
No,
unbelievable.
then you haven't tried the game, to be honest.
As if you're looking at back then what they delivered and how they delivered it in game wise, fun wise, it was just amazing, right? The thing is that graphics back then, to be honest, you didn't really care too much about graphics. That came way later, and there it was just playing a game, and this was just another level of chess, which had a lot of people really loved it.
Yeah, picking the right technology tree. Yeah, it were so many fun and strategic choices that you had to make. Yeah,
Yeah, and really set your path on which way you're going and what
yeah.
you can do. And so,
So
what is your last game?
I brought this one because for me, I think it's a little bit underappreciated. I think it was still received quite well, but from a game design perspective, they did something completely different from a typical RTS, and I think people were having difficulties with it. I'm assuming. I'm talking about Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle Earth, launched in 2004. The RTS that made the movies stand out, and replay all those epic moments like the Helm's Deep Minas Tirith, and make also the heroes pop out a little bit more. You had the heroes already in generals, but they didn't have that big of an influence on the game itself. But here, the heroes were almost the major factor of your army. What was cool is that you could pick Lurch, which was just one character in the movies that throw in some arrows, almost complete trees into Boromir, and he was still standing. And yeah, you play all your favorite characters as heroes in your army, level them up. And I think what it made it completely different is where you typically have freedom in where you could build your base. Here you had a set starting point with a amount of circles around the base itself, and you have to choose which building you had to build because it was just limited. If you want to expand, you had to go to a different place and build your buildings over there, which means that you had to move strategically and tactically around the map, uh, and it made the game flow much faster and faster, and also more fights on the map itself. Where the problem with generals sometimes is that the turtles that were there were really turtling. But of course, you have it also in Battle for Middle Earth in Gondor, and they close the doors, and then just they could almost survive on passive income in their home base with Gandalf walking around, especially if it was Gandalf the White with his staff, and then bombard everything, and then walk back to his castle and level up. It was, of course, that was difficult, but they with the patches that they delivered along. Yeah, it made it more balanced and streamlined. They should have, of course, bring those patches in earlier, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes the way that people are playing, you cannot completely predict. I think it was a very good game from a game design perspective. They did something cool, different, was very cinematic, made the movies come alive in an RTS, which I think was completely unique in a way.
I think that actually the overall story and so they really did that well. Also trying to build a strategy game on that, they really did that well. Especially running around with the hobbits and trying to throw stones from the cave troll, which was quite annoying by the way, but you could do it. I played it really a lot high level, also on the official ladders. They had official ladders on the Battle of Middle Earth side where you actually could do. I think you could match make for 1v1 or 2v2. Back then, I didn't really do too much 1v1, but I also did a lot of matchmaking by 2v2. So you just were matched with somebody else, and then you get up the leader board. January 2005, which is way too long ago, 20 years ago, I actually became first on that 2v2 ladder. So it took a lot of effort, but I did manage to get first on the 2v2 ladder. It was actually a lot of fun. I played a lot of Clan Wars later on as well, to be especially with Isengard, which was really fun to play. The thing is that you had to think a little bit differently because you had those plots where how are you going to use those plots to get an advantage early on? Can I just build a lot of income buildings and then trash them later to build something else? You could do that, was no problem. Your main forces were really strong, but you had to deal with these heroes one way or another, and there were counters for them, right? So there were counters for Legolas and stuff like that. I think that Isengard using Lurch was, I think that the way you can do a cripple, you can put them in place, surround them and kill them as fast as possible. And using these heroes as the other side was really also always quite a challenge, especially if you have Theoden coming on with all the army in gold and then just rushing off your pikemen also like it's nothing. And I had a lot of big also clan war matches where you played against Gondor and they were just, you had the entire map and you were just really trying to macro as much as possible and trying to get your army back as fast as possible while you're trying to siege their castle as quickly as possible. Just chip away and come with your next army fast enough that they didn't rebuild anything, and then just trying to trash it a little bit by little bit. And
And I
that
think
was
in this game there was also, next to macro, there was also a lot of micro. So you had different stances. You had to micro your hero, and you need to build up your army. I mean, in the meantime, you had to micro your hero to be able to beat some monsters on certain places, to get some loot and some leveling up, and you had to do it all in the same time. And that was kind of the feeling that I had with StarCraft as well. If you were to play against a just a beginner player and would just bring some army, you could totally defeat that army by just purely microing. And they were like, huh? But I brought some pikemen and you bring in some horses. How the hell did you survive? Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. The thing is, there's a lot of micro in that game. So if you did that well, you would have an edge, and it was really hard to counter. Like a lot of people in the beginning didn't even know you can change your stances. So the thing is that if you're going in with your Urkai and you go Urkai, and the other is in defensive stance and you're in attack stance, the defensive stance will still win.
Yep. And then shink, forge blades.
Forge blades, and then you're basically screwed. So especially if you went with these 1v1s, especially on clan war level, basically the match was decided pretty much in the first or the second set of Urukai, if you didn't really micro that really well, you basically got screwed over. And you basically, they are in your base and you couldn't really recover. What I do find sad is like, if you're looking at Battle of Middle-earth 2, which came in 2 years later, I think, that they ditched that whole concept,
Yeah.
right? They made it more RTSC where you can build everywhere. Still a good iteration. I still loved it how they did it, but yeah, for me, my heart goes to Battle of Middle Earth. But I think that to this day there is, except for StarCraft, there is no. I think that one of the, if you're looking at the story of a strategy game and playing through the story of there's none better. I think that they did that really. They nailed that as well. If you're looking at it's a strategy game, but it still also follows the Lord of the Rings and the whole story. So if you're a Lord of the Ring fan, it also gives you that itch, right? Getting through that, and especially when you have to defend Minas Tirith, right? And you have all this stuff coming towards you, and you have to
Yeah,
defeat the first
crazy.
Nazgûls and stuff like that. They did that really well in that strategy game.
Yep. So that was mine. We're wrapped up, right? No,
Mr.
no,
Meeple, you didn't
your
bring
board
in a
game.
board game.
Board game.
So this one is, I think that a lot of people, it sparked a different kind of board game type, in my sense, how I view it. And then we also had COVID, which basically made board games even more popular. But I think that this game really brought out a little bit of a change in how we see board games. So for me, this was Settlers of
Catan.
Catan.
Yeah.
So Settlers of Catan, I really loved that board game as well because it was a little bit different. Instead of you're moving your pawn with a few dice and you're moving it across the table, now you had to build something and you had to build it with specific cards, but you had to get those cards and you basically choose places, your starting places, and based on the roll of the dice, you get something or you don't. So your initial placing was really important. And then is like, what do I want to go? Do I want to go for the longest road or do I want to go for other types of things? And building up your basically your board. Well, you also have to deal with the others on the board trying to do the same thing, right? And why I also find this that this is a game that everybody really still enjoys. There are still a lot of tournaments about that, right? There's still a lot of depth in towards the Settlers of Catan. There's a lot of you have a lot of different kind of expansions and around this game. But if you're looking at the just the standard board game, there's still a lot of going on even now with this game, and that says how good it is, right? It's simple in its core. It is really easy to set up. It's really easy to play, but still, it's really hard to master. I think I was watching one guy just because I was watching the board game things with on YouTube, and then I actually got some footage of there. We were playing basically online, playing Catan, and then how he talked about the game, how much things he thinks of before he actually said something and why he does that. It was actually really intriguing on how he does see and he's going to do that and he knew what the other was going to do just based on where he put something, which was just bonkers, which was also really fun to watch and see how much effort it takes to really master a game like that and really be good at it and trying to play it as good as you can. Really good game. Cards, trading, building, it had it all. It was something different than Monopoly or whatever like that. So I think that really sparked a different way of thinking, especially in board games. What do you think about that, Mr. Meeple, as our board game expert?
I think a lot of people that play a lot of board games judge this game nowadays wrongly. They have the opinion like, yeah, there are better games now, you know? But I think so. You have Monopoly, and from a game design perspective, there's a lot of things wrong with Monopoly. It's almost an anti-game. From if you look at it from a game design perspective, but it's sold extremely well and is still selling a lot of games. So who am I to judge? I think Catan was the first more different take on gaming, board gaming, and laid the grounds for any other type of inspiration, new board games to game afterwards. Without Catan, I think we wouldn't have those games that we have nowadays, to be honest. I would still have fun playing Catan. if someone were to bring settlers, then I don't mind.
I would
And
have a go.
yes, yeah, I would have a go and I would still have fun. There are a lot of board games that are released nowadays that perhaps are a little bit more better or improved, or I just mentioned last time Concordia, right? But there are that's not for the masses, So Catan did something really well, made it very accessible for the public to introduce a new good board game that is selling in Walmart or your typical,
But
you
that is
know,
the difference, right? Like if you're looking at all these games that come out these days, they can be so complex that they don't get mainstream. They are not easy to pick up for anybody within the household, right? So
yeah,
I think that Catan, why it was so good, it was easy enough that everybody could play. To be honest, it's 30 years old, right? So 30 years old. It's 1995 when it came out in Germany. A game for 30 years old, and just everybody could put it on the table. And with all due respect, a lot of board games these days just don't have that right away. We played chess. What we're talking about just the Robin Hood a little bit
yeah.
earlier. Even that is not for everybody right
No,
away.
definitely no.
It's already another level of playing, another level of thinking. That is not for just going in and playing with the family easily, right? Those are games that require a different kind of level of thinking, which a lot of people just don't want. It's not that they cannot do that, but it's just you want to put something easy on the table and get it. And that is what they did well. That's why it sold so well. And it didn't really take hours. You could do that in hour and a half, you were done. I think that it did a lot good. And for me, why it stands out as well is that what you said, I think that a lot of people looked at this game and a lot of the more complex games we like sparked from this, right? It's same as Civilization, same as Gran Turismo, my other games. And maybe that's my team. They were games that brought something to the table, which was iterated upon by other games, right? They took stuff that worked well, they think worked well, and they sparked other ideas. They sparked other
Yeah,
creativity from other people to create new other stuff, cool stuff, which we think is that you need to give credit where credit is due. And I think that especially in these three types of games, but Settlers Catan as well, is it did that at least. Or at least I think that it is. You can disagree with me, but
no,
I
I
think
fully agree. And to any board gamer out there that is extremely passionate and is taking a crap on this game, for me, it's completely unfair. I think that is without that game, we wouldn't have those games that we have nowadays, and it is still a good game. It is still a good game. If you look at from a game design perspective, it's just a good game. And of course, there are perhaps a few things that are a little bit more luck driven than you probably might would like. But without that luck factor, it wouldn't be that accessible anymore. So if you were to take it out and remove it, then your mother-in-law or your nephew wouldn't be able to play this game and play it on the same level, because then all of a sudden, you know any beginner, you would easily be demolished by someone who is playing that game for how many years.
we agreed. So my last game, Settlers of Catan.
Cool. Glad that you bring this one in. Moving on to save, retry, and game over. Doo, 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 and you're gonna start.
I'm gonna start with yours.
Yeah. So Red Alert, Generals, and Battle for Middle Earth. Which one are you gonna send to the RTS hell?
I hate you. Red Alert.
That's game over for Red Alert.
Red Alert game over. And why? Because I love the other games too much. The thing is, I love them all three, but I need I need to send
Yeah,
one to
you
the
need to pick.
graveyard. I really wanted. The thing is that I'm now torn because I really want to have a retry of Battle of Middle Earth, but also Generals. But I would give Generals, redo Generals, please. Do a new C&C, a better one. Give that another try. Just give that. The thing is that I love them both, but I would say I think that a lot of people, and they tried it this year with the Tempest Rising, I think it was called. But I want to have a new Command and Conquer, right? Or new Command and Conquer Generals, which I would say retry that one, right? And I think that a lot of people will say, yeah, agreed. And then Battle of Middle Earth is, yeah.
Okay. So save for for Middle Earth.
Yeah. Retry Generals.
And then game over for Red Alert. Follow your logic, to be honest, because, and I think I would probably pick the same. Cool. My go, right?
Yeah, Civilization, Gran Turismo, or Settlers Catan. Which one is dead? Which one you want to retry?
I think save Gran Turismo. I think it did a lot of things really well for the racing community.
Yeah.
And I think
Are you gonna-
I can, I
Yeah, but
cannot,
why-
I cannot get rid of, to be honest, such a iconic game with so many influence. I mean, of course, you can also say the same for Catan, but no. So game over for Catan and Civ retry.
Why though? Because they are still retrying it.
Yeah, well, could actually say the same for Gran Turismo, right?
Maybe retry Settlers Catan because they didn't do that. Not to force your hand or anything like that, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yo,
It would be fun if they would retry Catan. But then again, they have done tons and tons of reiterations on Catan, and which, I mean, almost as many as Monopoly, I believe. Yeah. Sometimes it's just, call it fair game. Unless you're throwing on some very different mechanics. But the thing is, if you are going to stick with Catan, you need to be keeping accessible, So, yeah, no, sorry. You were there. I had fun with Catan. Game over. Sorry. Save for Gran Turismo, retry for Civ, and perhaps add a few new mechanics to it in the mix. So,
okay.
Sid
Yeah,
Meier.
you made this segment, right?
I love it. I mean, it makes you think,
So
I would like to hear, what our listeners and watchers are thinking about, if we're making the right choices or not, or if they were to riot and throw us on a haystack, a burning
probably with the
haystack.
pitchforks coming.
Pitchforks coming our way. I don't know.
The thing is that if you need to make hard choices, then yeah,
They're making voodoo dolls of us, right?
That's the pinching feeling in my heart. Right?
Yeah.
No, this is
Cool.
Okay, no, but I'll go with. I will go with you.
Cool. Moving on to newfound classics. So, in this segment, we're gonna talk about hidden gems or games that just deserve some love. So, Robin, you want to take this one?
Do I want to start off first?
Yeah.
Well, this for me, and this is a recent game that came out, and to be honest, this is for me a new classic. Right off, and it's actually 2 Point Museum. Explain it.
Cool.
So 2 Point Museum comes from 2 Point, developer 2 Point, and 2 Point Studios, I have to say. And they created this under the Sega banner. They started a few years ago to basically reimagine Team Hospital and basically made 2 Point Hospital, and they did a stellar job. So when I saw 2 Point Museum, and there was an iteration between there that I didn't play, but I saw 2 Point Museum, and I was like, oh, there's a Steam sale or so kind of going on. So it's like, I need to try it out. Can they make what I liked about 2 Point Hospital? Can they make that better? And to be honest, they knocked it out of the park, which is really weird because I wasn't really expecting it that it would be that good and that fun to play. And I think I already have 40 plus hours in it easily. And especially because my son really likes it when I'm playing and then he goes through it. So what makes 2 Point Museum different than 2 Point Hospital is that 2 Point Hospital, you have people that have a medical condition and on a humorous way trying to get that resolved. In 2 Point Hospital, of 2 Point Museum, it goes a little bit different, is where you have all kind of exhibits and people give you donations and based on that you can give money. The exhibits itself are just some funky things here and there. There's always a little bit of the humor in there, but there is a little bit of that humor less because the 2 Point Hospital had like somebody with a bloated head where you pop the head and something like that.
That's
And
so
here
funny.
you have humor in a different way. But what I found is really fun is that 2 Point Hospital had all these mechanical. They have the ailments you need to solve, but it had a little bit of a limit. What they did really well, which is you're building a museum, and you have different types of exhibits. So you start out with prehistoric, so dinosaur bones, but then you also get aquatic, so you can make aquariums, and then you can actually go into the nether realm where you can go have with ghosts and haunted stuff and curses, and then you go to space, and then you go to other planets and getting expeditions, a cheese expedition and stuff like that from space, and actually have aliens visit your museum. Yeah, they make it they make it quite weird. Then you have science. Then you have botanica, and all of them have multiple exhibitions. So there is really a lot in this game. There's a lot to offer, because I think that even if you're looking at the prehistory, you have like 20 plus types of exhibitions, and same goes for if you go to the aquarium, you get all these different kind of fish, 20, 30 plus. So there's a lot in this game just from base, and playing through it, it's just a lot of fun. And you start with a theme, and but you build out that theme. And one tip for everybody's playing: keep with your team as long as you can, and then branch over, because
Mm.
expanding, you need to hire more people, and your cost raise, and you're basically that's a little bit of how the financials work in the game. And how they do it as well is like what you do is a little bit different. Is how do you get these exhibits? You have the helicopter, and you can send people on an expedition. So you have a map, and you have expeditions, and those expeditions have rewards. And based on the skills of your different people that need to go on that expedition, because that's pre-filled, you need an expert, you need some janitor. They go and they grab the expedition on a certain level, on a certain grade, and then you basically go get as much expeditions as possible. You also can learn and have a knowledge factor, so you can analyze these things to get your knowledge up for the expedition. And this basically build out to get all these pristine exhibitions, and getting in people, having fun, getting a lot of donations, and just building it in. I don't think it's really particularly difficult game, because if you get the gist of it, it's really easy to go through. But you can build out these plots, and you can really create these giant museums. And you also have a lot of customizations, walls, floors. You can do anything you want. You can make one big room, small rooms. You can do. There is so much customization in this game as well, which makes it just really fun. And you can really make the overall museum come to life. The only thing which is a little bit annoying is the damn thieves that constantly come and steal your steal your exhibits, and you have ways around
But
that. But
you need to have that random events, right? I mean, if
yeah,
you
but it's
look at
annoying as hell, because you're
Sim
building your.
City with the storms and the floods and all those kind of things, yeah.
Yeah, but it took me long to get that one pristine exhibit, and it's like a thief getting it stolen, and you're not getting ransomed for it or something else. So yeah, the thing is that this game has a lot of depth in it, and it has a lot of fun in it. There's still that humor in there, a little bit different than uh, the Two Point Hospital.
Which one do you prefer?
This one, I love Two Point Hospital. Don't get me wrong, but this one, the thing is that in one game, in one sitting, and you can really build a museum. You can really build different paths based on with all the exhibits you have, so you can really build it out, and you can really have, there's so many different exhibits in there, from going from ghosts towards going to aquariums and stuff like that, which really makes it fun to design these good running museums, and trying to get the best exhibits as possible, get the knowledge high, and doing marketing.
I think also, so this game is like more from themselves, right? I mean, Two Point Hospital is of course still a game that they published, but was based on Theme Hospital in many ways, and they just wanted to revive it and bring it back to life and add some cool things to it. But this sounds really that they brought their own theme and something that their own mechanics.
The core is the same, right? The core is the same what you bring, but yeah, they have brought in new mechanics, and they did new things, and they had the re-envision of like, and that's the difference. Like if you have people that come from a medical thing, and you can make a little bit humor and that, around that, but how do you do the exhibition? So that's a little bit different there.
Yeah.
But they really thought about how can we make this fun. So yeah, if for me, Two Point Museum is already a classic. If you're 20 years from now, I think that a lot of people will still have fun with it. It's just really cool. I didn't really play Two Point Campus that came 2022, so that came 3 years ago. I really didn't play that, but this one just it's just so much fun.
My pick is The King is Dead. It's a board game. This board game was brought to me in a different way. So because I had a War of Whispers, and it's a good game about trying to align with the right faction and bet on the right faction that who is going to win. The premise of that game was extremely cool, but it didn't really nail it. There were quite a few things that I was bothered by, and people were saying, "Hey, perhaps you should try The King instead," because A War of Whispers is very much influenced by this game. Give it a go. And where War of Whispers, you basically have to play it with 3 players. And there are ways to play it with 2 players, but then it became a completely different game. This game, you can actually play it with 2 players, and it is still a good game. So what this game is about is it's old England. It's very much on the brink of breakdown, and the king is dead, so they are looking for a successor. And France is looking across their border to, if it doesn't go the right way, to come in and sway the whole country to their side. What you have to do is you have the 3 different type of factions. You have the Scots, you have the Welsh. So the third faction is English, and they're basically represented by 3 colors: red, blue, and yellow. And you get those cubes and you have to place it in certain areas of the map. And it is an area majority game. So you go from one place to another, one area to another. And you have to go through all 8 areas around England. The one who is having the most majority in that specific area wins that area. So it could be, for example, if you start off with Scotland, and I don't know, the Welsh are very much popular over there. They win the majority, and then they switch over, and it's basically Welsh from there on. The game is whoever has the most majority, so it could be English, it could be Scotch, it could be Welsh, and then how much influence you have chosen on which faction is the one who is winning the game. So if you choose to go full on, head on for Welsh, and they are winning then you win the game basically. But if you chose poorly and mostly the English are winning all those areas, yeah, good luck with you. But you can always switch sides along the game. So you pick one from the start. You say, okay, I'm gonna go for mostly Scottish at the moment, and then you feel that the majority of the areas will shift to the English. Then you can say, okay, I will shift my allegiance as well. Same as how it works in politics. uh,
We're just picking the winning team.
yeah, but you can only do that with the right cube. So you have to choose strategically which cubes you're going to place in which area and which cubes you're going to keep in your council as your allegiance. So if you're keeping mostly, for example, the blue cubes on your side in your council, well, then you're basically going head on for all in for Scottish. But that means that you cannot use those cubes to get area majority of those specific areas. So then you have to bet that someone else is doing that, which you can, but it's quite difficult. You have played this game as well, yeah, and together with, I think, my son. It is really fun. It is very cutthroat, like a knife in a phone booth. Goes back and
And it's
forth.
fast.
It's
And that's
really fast.
what I like. It's fast, it's quick. You really have to think forward, but sometimes you have a plan in your head and you're like, "Oh, this is not going the way I want to go," and then you're trying to salvage the game for yourself, which can succeed or not. It really also depends on if other people are looking on what you're doing and they try to need to predict what you're doing. And you can also try to throw them a little bit off by doing something where they think, oh, he's going for that, and they basically do what you want them to do, which makes it quite fun to get this
If
done.
you
Yeah, it's easy with just cubes. It doesn't really have too much general, but yeah.
what I advise to people who need to teach this game, just don't spend a lot of time explaining what the whole game is about and what you have to do. Just give it 1 or 2 rounds, do an example, and then just start up from there. You see, oh, this is what you mean. And then all of a sudden you can play the game, because the game on itself is not very complicated in what you have to do, but explaining it, because there are some exceptions as to the game as well. One of the exception is it's not only on who is on your council. So if you were to pick the Scottish or the Welsh or the English, but you could also say, okay, I'm just gonna go for a draw, that there is no victor, and then you have to make a mixture of your set collection. So have a mixed bag, literally, of all colors, because then the French take over, and then who is having the most sets of all colors is winning the game. Only explaining that rule alone is like, what the hell are you? Stop it. But trust me, play this a few rounds, you'll get the hang of it, and it is fun. It is quick, and if you like, very cutthroaty games, then this one is for you.
Nice. Good ship. Good pick.
Cool. Moving on to our last segment. What are we looking forward to? I will bring this one in, and I was in doubt because it's not particularly what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to figuring out War of the Ring. We have played this tons of time now, and it is. We had a few games that we were saying, okay, now we get it. Now we get it. This is fun. And the last time we did it as well, so we brought it back to the table, expecting an epic fight between us two. And we were having just the same breaking headaches and stumbling on the rules and the explanations and the cards that were, contradictory, and all the kinds of stuff that we ran into in the first couple of plays, which I find really frustrating, because I believe that on itself, the game, of course, it's quite an old game, but I have to believe that this is a really good and epic game. It needs to be. I want to be. I don't want to be disappointed.
The thing is that War of the Ring is in the top 100 for nothing, in top 10 actually. There is a reason for why it's there. We actually haven't figured out why.
That's true. So I'm
it's
looking
for the
forward
audience.
to that moment where we say we were wrong all that time, and it's just an exceptionally good game.
Just for the audience to know, just to make sure that the facts are on the table, because this was exact the same I had on my.
Really?
So,
did you
yeah,
pick the same one?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Wow.
So I actually own War of the Ring first edition. So not the second edition, which is the first difficulty. The second one is that we have it not in English, but in a different language, which makes rules a bit iffy, right? They are not easy to always understand. The translation is always, or not always, that straightforward, which makes the game quite difficult to understand overall. There are some intricacies in this game, especially how you move to fellowship and what you can and cannot do, and how to move forward in this game, which just eludes us for some reason. And I don't know why. We need somebody to guide us through this game. But as we speak now, currently, I actually have the game set up downstairs, ready to be played. It actually got molested a little bit by my son, because he said, I can use this as because there's a lot of miniatures in this game. So
He
he's
did a Toy
basically
Story thing.
the miniatures are over the place. I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play both sides, and I'm trying to figure out this game using the rules. So I'm gonna use the references of the second edition, and I'm going to use the second edition rules because what I've figured out already is that those rules are a little bit more tweaked. So I'm going to see if I can just try to mix and match and basically use A4 paper and just writing it down to try to understand the flow of the game and see if it could. The thing is that, and you have the same thing. There is a reason why this is, I think, number fourth, the number 100
Uh,
list. I don't care about that list that you have games till top 100. It's fun to just look at what games are doing well, but I don't take too much of it. But for this game specifically, that it's in the top 100 and it's in the top 10 does mean something, that people do like this game.
yeah,
And I
definitely.
want to understand why. Like we said earlier with Battle of Middle Earth, War of the Ring really fits the theme we love. We love Lord of the Rings. And I want this game to work in my head and to click in my head so badly, because to be honest, I think that it can be one of the best two-player experiences you have if you have the same feel of Lord of the Rings and doing this well. And there is, I know, especially because I looked it up, there are a lot of different strategies going in towards the game depending on which cards you get and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fun things you can do within this game and trying to win it
I'm looking forward
as
solving
evil.
it.
Yeah, if we can get this solved, then yeah, that would be awesome. That would be really awesome.
Cool. That was this. That was it. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or leave a star rating. Create some gaming memories. Thanks.